And I will be refuting on the main claim that athletic programs are an essential factor of a student's academic growth. My opponent's secondary claims to support this was that when participating in school athletic programs, students are forced to adapt to demanding organizational skills, that when participating in athletic programs, students are faced with the responsibility of having others to rely on, and that athletes that play sports are more motivated to succeed in school. My response to her secondary claim that when students participate in school athletic programs, they are forced to adapt to demanding organizational skills. Of course, my opponent was right when she said that students learn some management, time management, and how to be prepared for class. But everybody that goes to school is forced to be prepared for class if they want to pass the course. Also, when athletes get in college, many are protected by the institution so that they do not need to learn additional organizational skills. Most colleges, for instance, have private study halls and give priority registrations to athletes so that they do not have conflicting schedules. Non-athletes have to learn how to work with the schedules that they are able to get, developing their time management and organizational skills. Also, my opponent gave an example about how David Ledette is a direct example of a student having to adjust to a demanding athletic schedule while keeping school a priority. This is the person that led his team to contention for the conference title all 4 years and was valedictorian of the Brooklyn campus with a GPA of 3.9. However, Brennan Costello of Nebraska received not only valedictorian at his high school, but was elected as a national officer to the FFA Association, which is the largest youth organization in America. And not only was he a member of the FFA, the National Honor Society, and Sigma Phi Beta Academic Honor Society. This proves that other organizations besides sports cause a student to be able to adapt to organizational skills. My response to her secondary claim was that her secondary claim was when students participate in athletic programs, they are faced with the responsibility of having others to rely on. This is not relevant to the main claim that says that sports are an essential factor in academic growth, and this was not supported with expert testimony. My opponent stated, this can show dramatic growth because the same team becomes a resource for asking questions, forming study groups, and even having a support team, and used herself as an example of utilizing her friends as a resource. Besides that, relying on others can have a negative effect on the student by training them to become more codependent rather than independent. In it, she also said that the negative effect, in fact, Chris Dawkins of Time magazine published an article highlighting why students cheat and who is the most likely to do so. In it, he said that the second type of a student at risk for cheating belongs to one or more social networks like fraternities, final clubs, and athletic teams, whose barriers to cheating like social taboos are lower, and logistic means to cheat, like sharing study materials, is more common. They go on to say that membership in these networks often comes with a high degree of loyalty and social pressure to allow cheating and to protect them from being caught. As was evident by the Boston Globe reporting that over half of the 125 students under academic honesty investigations played in varsity sports in the Harvard cheating scandal that broke out earlier this year. Finally, my opponent stated that athletes that play sports are more motivated to succeed in school. To support this claim, my opponent said that the motivation to succeed in school always comes from direct positive effects from the athletic program, but supported this warrant with a study that compared 36 male and female collegiate athletes with 36 male and female college students, which were not athletes. Both sets of students were tested on a treadmill and had to walk through virtual city. The conclusion of the study was that the college athletes helped non-athletes get across the virtual street faster. And although they did not literally move faster, the athletes actually thought and maneuvered through the streets faster. This example has no correlation to her claim and might prove that athletes walk faster, but does not prove that athletes that play sports are more motivated to succeed in school. In fact, in a study directed by Professor Din from the University of Virginia College of Wise, they studied rural high school students on how they did academically during and after the playing season was conducted. And he concluded that for the vast majority of the participating high school students, playing sports did not have any impact on their academic achievements. Therefore, athletic programs are not an essential factor of a student's academic growth. Thank you.
All right, all the structural stuff is really solid. I think you do a good job diminishing on the first point. You could use a little bit of evidence about the support that the athletes get on study halls and registration, although I think that's generally known, but it wouldn't hurt. Your counterexample, I think, is okay, but I think it needs a better explanation. All the other arguments, though, were much clearer, and their application is explained very well. I thought you had good challenges to the reasoning of the advocate and using the examples that they had, trying to challenge the relevance, and then presenting an explanation of either a counterexample, for instance, which I thought was pretty effective with that Harvard athletic cheating scandal breaking out. You know, one of the things I was writing down when you started that was, okay, you're going to need some examples on this, and the next thing I know, I got a whole bunch of examples on it, so that's exactly what you need to do. And then I think on the last point, you also challenge the relevance of the study, and you kind of make an explanation that says, how is this comparable to succeeding? I think that's a perfectly reasonable question to make. And the only thing I would suggest that you do a little bit more is sometimes you want to make your declarative sentences precede the evidence so it's clearer how the evidence is supporting them. All right, thanks.